parent survey. Results are in here for you to take a look at. The one thing I wanted to point out is over the N number is the number of respondents next to year. It's gone down significantly at every single campus. We've had some, things going on the past couple of years that have energized people, and maybe they are de-energized. Who knows? And just chose not to respond. But anyway, the results are fair. These results are part of our classroom site fund requirements for the performance pay. So that's why we do the survey. But you guys get the results every year. And there's a few numbers up and down, but for the most part, things are fairly stable.
John, just a quick question. And I don't know if fair and poor responses, in your opinion, is that just typical of human nature that some people are going to be unhappy? Or are there any issues that came out of those type of responses?
Well, unfortunately, we use Blackboard Connect, which is basically they call, and a couple of you, I think, got the call. And you press 1, 2, 3, or 4. There's not a way to provide a response as to why their results are that way. One thing that I wanted to point out, but when you look at especially the poor, the numbers are pretty small. They're all less than 10%. And in one case, they're less than 2%. And so the number of people that we're dealing with is relatively small, especially when you look at 104 respondents in some cases. But there really is no way to gauge why they're giving those opinions.
But then I was more really interested in fair.
Right.
Because to me, the poor, as I said, some people are going to be unhappy no matter what. Even if it's birthday cake, you can write it. But fair, it's always to me said there's some issue there that causes you to give that type of a rating. And I'm just curious to know if there's any way of identifying what those issues are. And yes, it's very consistent over time. I was just curious.
Yeah, unfortunately, there's not a way with the system that we use to follow up on that.
I think you complained about 70-80%.
Yeah. Yeah. So, any other questions about the surveys? All right, let's move on. We have the teacher and staff members of the quarter. At Territorial, we had Karen Mendez, who's a teacher of ours, along with Gina Graham, who's a paraprofessional. At Del Rio School, we had Tracy Norvell, a teacher, Lacey Barba, a paraprofessional. At Heritage Middle School, we had Christine Nolan, who's one of our counselors, and Dalton Morgan, who's our behavior coach at Heritage. Then we had at the high school, John Bryans, one of our teachers, and David Gaiman, who's a paraprofessional. And then in the district office was our human resources coordinator, Shelley Daly. These are, again, a little bit more exclusive. We only did this quarterly, so that means there's 4 from each school and then 4 in the district office. So I do want to continue to thank Donna Webb from JEDS. When we go, she's there, gives them a little goodie bag, has a gift certificate in there along with a goodie, and then a little treat for them. So they've always, she's been very supportive of the program, and we want to give her some kudos for that. So that's Donna Webb at JEDS.
I love that they do the paraprofessionals because I think that that's really awesome, especially I got to know Gina Graham as a parent, and she's literally one of my favorites.
She's a hoot.
The children love her, and I love that she loves the kids.
Yeah.
She does too.
Yeah. She's a cracker.
Yeah, she's a good one.
Included in your packet is the end of the year calendar, all kinds of events going on. 3 that I really want to mention to you. I think I gave the wrong date for the board meeting.
6.
Is the 6th the correct? Okay, so I did do it right. And so I think I told somebody in the audience, it's actually June 6th. It's a week earlier than normal, not the 8th. I think I told you the 8th. So we have graduation. Hopefully all of you can be there on the 25th in the Toyota Center. Get ready to shake hands.
What time do you want?
You know what? 6:30.
Okay.
There's no reason to be there any earlier. You're all pros. You've been through it. So You know what's going on.
Here.
Yep. So, May 25th, graduation, Finley Toyota Center, 7 p.m. For those involved, 6:30. We have June 6th is our governing board meeting in the governing boardroom at 7 p.m. That's a change of date. It would have been normally at 14th. And then for those that can make it, at 8 o'clock on August 1st is our all-staff kickoff. That's going to be one of two times throughout the year that we get everybody together. And again, we're going to have breakfast. We have a speaker that we've already lined up, kind of an inspirational rah-rah to get us kicked off. Just an opportunity to kind of see everybody and things like that. So we also have on the 24th at 2 o'clock is our end of year gathering to recognize our retirees and 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, no 30 this year.
Same place.
Same, actually at Heritage, correct. That's going to be at Heritage.
At what time is that?
That is at 2 p.m. on Tuesday the 24th.
But is that the last day of school too?
Yeah, it is. So school's out 3 hours early that day.
Okay.
So that 2 o'clock allows for all the bus drivers to get off their routes and participate.
And then our first day of school is?
The 3rd, Wednesday, August 3rd.
And this is perfect. We're starting at 7 o'clock.
7 o'clock is the graduation time, correct?
No, I'm sorry. The governing board.
Oh, no, that's 5 o'clock.
Yeah, we said 7 o'clock.
Yeah, I just copied it from the first one, so that is 5
I
o'clock.
thought I better double check.
Boy, I need to do a better job this week. Sorry. Yeah. Track update. So we had, Sunland Asphalt is the subcontractor of sports services that is going to be doing the sub base for the track. They had people here on Friday, kind of surveying the site. There's people there today, I believe, looking at the site to kind of do things or check things out. Tentatively, we have on May 18th, existing track demolition. And then on June 1st, we have tentatively paving begins.
This is so exciting. I am so excited about this.
So we already have one possible change order to allow for javelin, runway, and do some other stuff, but it's exciting. So we're excited about this moving forward. Again, with the goal of hopefully finishing everything by monsoon season. So we get the surface in, set before he reads.
And they're still chopping up the existing surface to use the surface.
So it's right.
Super.
I know Annie and I both served on the school bond committee back in 2013, 2014. And we were trying to get a track then. And I know you've been trying even longer than that, so this is really a transition. Thank you.
And that's my report.
Thank you. Any questions, comments? Thank you. All right, item 6C1, our financial reports, Mr. Livingston.
Right. President, members of the board, administration, staff, ladies and gentlemen, for the month ended April 30th, 2022, I've got a couple of key figures. Our operating budget is 78% spent, and the percent of the year gone is 83%. We like it when the year is used up faster than our budget. M&O budget, we've actually done a little revision. We'll see that later. We have capacity for 16.3 million in our M&O budget. We moved $500,000 over to capital for some just reserves for capital. You see that in the budget revision. So our M&O budget is 15.8 million. Our capital budget, 1.1 million. It's going back up with some revision if we approve that tonight. Our cash fund, if you look at the cash fund pages there, you see Fund 691. So you're going to hear more about that as time goes by. That's our building renewal grant fund. So far, we've received from the school facilities board, state of Arizona, $590,770, and we've paid that to our architect and a couple of Western roofing came and did assessments restoration and assessments.
Again, new equipment. We're working through it.
Sorry.
So the assessment stage is done, the design phase is 98% done, and then following that would be the construction phase. And our architect is, again, if you approve the next items coming up for the contracts for SFP contractors, then our architects will be able to work with our design team, folks from their team, and also with the roofer and the HVAC installation person. So that will just grow that $509,000 if we approve project, if we approve that later tonight.
So, Mr. Livingston, we all know what you're talking about, but for our YouTube viewers, would you refresh our minds as to what we have plans to do?
Sure, so I guess it's been a few years. We've been looking for better air conditioning in our classrooms.
Back to the bond work.
Yeah.
That is.
So
Yeah, not just better.
Well, the definition for the school facilities board swinging into action is when there's a deficiency. So we have maybe substandard or inadequate air conditioning. And once they identify there's a deficiency, and we did that the last year and a half ago, then the school facility board will swing into action. And so we've spent 16 months doing this to try to get these in place and the funding in place. And we've had 4 visits from school facilities board staff right to the district. And we have 4 people there now that I speak to usually once or twice a month, some people once a week, just so they get this next step approved and funded, because as you can see later with the motions we're going to bring, there's 2 new contractors coming in, plus our architect, plus an SFP contractor, know every step of the way, every plan, design, and installation, so they can fund it. And then they've got a range of options they can fund. So once they're identified, they don't always go low ball, they don't always say low bid project. They do best value, that's their term, best value for the taxpayer, so probably present to them 15 times in the last 6 months. So they think that we've got a design that will last and provide adequate air conditioning plus reseal the roof surfaces if there's any leaks or failure there. Our assessment came back with the roofs, there's some damage in more. That'll be repaired as well as the AC is being installed. And the formula is set up so that we don't pay anything up front. We just wait for approved invoices from these contractors that are on approved grant awards, and then we move forward. And there's actually 3 more that we're anticipating funding for. 2 of them have already been approved, and one of them is, they call it a critical need award for $22,000 to put band covering on the band at high school, the band room. If you get in there, there's some trip hazards based on carpet that's failed and dripped, and then there's a $14,000 award to retile the science lab, and I'll have hopefully Ms. Thomas sign these tonight, shows acceptance one. So there's one we're waiting on, a $61,000 one to just polish the concrete at the Del Rio gym, and that one's on hold a little bit. It's a $61,000 project. It's under review. So once that's fully approved, we'll bring that back for signatures back to them, and then it's approved status. So there's part of the process: assessment, design, procurement. We've got that done because the contractors are all in one GPA, it's a cooperative agreement, and then construction. So it's step 3 and step 4 on all these projects.
Thank you for that information and clarifying. It's still on your floor now with our student activity fund.
Great, so student activity brought in revenues so far this year, 26,000, expenditures, 20,000, and ending cash, 138,000. The funds are very active. I know we've been talking with Ms. D'Angelo at the high school for a while, and I think it's tomorrow or the next day. It's a trip.
It's Wednesday night after senior awards.
And then they're doing an overnighter and back the next night to this time. So that'll be, she's been working just tirelessly to get that all set up. So, and that's, again, another student activity. That's the one activity I know about.
Ms. Wolf, may I ask you a question on the Disneyland trip?
Yes.
Has it been fully funded for the kids that maybe were not?
Yes.
Together funding?
Yes, we were able to help.
Thank you, just
Yeah.
wanted to make sure.
Yeah.
Thank you much. Onto our consent, thank you for your report. Onto our consent agenda. I would entertain a motion to accept item 8.8 through N.
I will make a motion for the approval of the consent agenda.
Second.
Thank you, all in favor? Aye. Thank you. Okay, item 8A, a survey of our district employees submitted by Mike Vogel and Mike is actually going to present us this evening.
Thank you, Cindy. Fellow board members, I would like to propose that we try to get, we make an attempt to get some information from our employees about, around their sort of their economic well-being and status by surveying all employees with a anonymous survey distributed through the, by our administration, and Mr. Schultz's office. I have given an example or a draft of what that would look like. I have since thought about it further and have sort of modified that draft. And this is a draft. So, I'm certainly open for discussion. I am going to pass out the second thought that I had about what that survey may look like. I just added one question relative to housing, which I thought would be an important metric when we're taking a look at our employees' economic well-being status, et cetera. I think this could be useful information for all of us to use for personnel reasons, for budget reasons, for policy reasons, I also think it'd be good information for the general public to hang out. Since there is a lot of discussion about the status of teachers and employees of the district throughout rural Arizona, which I consider us a part of. So I thought this would be useful for us, and for those reasons. And so I guess that's it. I'm open for discussion.
I have a couple questions.
Yeah.
One is, when are you wanting to distribute?
Well, that can be discussed, but my first thought was, if this is approved, we could get John to do it right away.
So I think it's a really great idea because I do think that this information will be helpful. However, I just feel like by the time of year right now with only meeting 2 weeks after school, would be kind of, I feel like if the teachers are just so clear right now, you probably wouldn't get it as accurate as if we did at the beginning of next year. That's just my opinion, my thought.
Yeah, that makes no sense.
Actually,
Yeah, either way, I
we
mean,
talked
there
last
might,
week,
there might be advantages or
I
disadvantages.
actually thought kind of the same thing too, that maybe some of the teachers would think that answering this or not answering this might be dependent on their salaries, or does that mean they're going to get an increase coming July 1st? I was actually thinking maybe once the teachers get on board, it would probably be a more opportune, a more not stressful at the beginning of the year than they are right now. So I had that thought also.
It's a different type of stress.
Yes, yes, very much so. It's not, I want to go home stress.
I do think it's a really great idea.
I do
I
too.
think that it could be very helpful, to us and honestly to the community, that people can see what our teachers are thinking. I think it's a great idea.
Go ahead.
First of all, I want to follow up on Annie's point, because to me, my main questions were after reading this is, with having this information in hand, what could we, the board or the administration, do? Now, I hadn't thought about Annie's stuff, but letting the community know how important these issues are to their teachers. is maybe the best thing that this could be for, because again, we all recognize the financial stress many of the people in this community have, and particularly our staff. And we also know how limited we as a board or the district administration is on making substantive changes. So what I would think that we want to do before moving too far forward is to have an action plan as to what do we do with the information once we have it, rather than just taking it and then say, okay, here it is, now what do we do? You see where I'm coming from?
Absolutely, yeah. Well, so a couple of things that were on my mind. This is a thought after I asked John if he would report on retention rates. And so this was sort of an outgrowth of that thought, and actually asked myself why I didn't put this first and then that. So that makes some sense. Some kind of action plan. The other thing that came up in my mind was this time of year we are often asked to respond to the ASBA with regards to legislative agenda. And I think we might be even discussing that tonight. I don't know when this has to come up, when we have to give the feedback, maybe in the next month or two. But this kind of information, this kind of data would help us to formulate how we might want to respond to that. The timing of that, I understand now, may not be possible. So that seems to me part of what would be part of an action plan, whether it's now or a year from now or whatever.
Well, Mike, let me ask if this would be okay with you.
Yeah.
As we were talking just a minute ago, probably is more appropriate to do this early next fall rather than immediately now. Could we, what are your thoughts about continuing this item? Let me put together some thoughts on the action plan and bring the package back to us next month if we want that.
And then maybe we can continue to discuss it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Well, and I think one of the things that like I said, I think it's a really good idea, but, in one of our letters of resignation,
This is what I was talking
but anyways,
Yeah.
it just had stated that they were putting in a letter of resignation because their rent got raised like 13 to 16%, and they no longer had this program. So I think that this would be really helpful because employees start seeing certain things like that.
Very much so.
Right, yeah, and so this also was generated from some resignation letters that I've received in the last, that were sent to the board members in the last year, which makes this really, really relevant to me. And the other thing that I want to be careful about, and all of our employees, I think, are important in terms of getting data. Our paraprofessionals, our classified staff, our teachers, and when I think we talk about all of our employees, we need to make sure that we're including, we want to be oftentimes speak about just teachers, but the rest of our employees and staff are extremely critical in how effective our teachers, our schools are functioning and have great, huge impact on student achievement as well. So let's
I
keep
do
that in
agree
mind.
with that.
Let's keep that in mind.
All right, so what would you?
I have a quick
Yes,
comment. One of the things that might be helpful, if I was an employee and I saw this, I might just kind of blow it off because, it may seem a little bit intrusive because there's some fairly personal questions on there. And so one thing that I think might be helpful in this is trying to get some teacher and staff buy-in and maybe run it through SEAC, which is the Superintendent Employee Advisory Council. Bring it to their attention and maybe they can add some questions that might be, we haven't thought about and that might be relevant to them. But getting that buy-in may ultimately lead to hopefully more or better participation in the long run.
Not to spring it on the staff as a surprise.
Right.
I think it's brilliant, this is the addition to this. Yeah.
So Mike,
So
would
it
you be
makes a heck of a lot of sense. The other thing that I want to point out is that the, sort of the introductory paragraph that would go along with the survey hasn't been included, and how you set that up.
Mhm.
And the tone, the language used, with that also, it would be important in the effectiveness of the survey. So,
Mhm.
and I didn't include that, but that would certainly have to be well thought out.
May I ask the board, would you guys be opposed to possibly doing a study session, maybe an hour before one of our meetings, so we could just discuss what we want to see in it, how we want to see in it before we take it to a vote?
I know we have a July meeting. We already have a study session set for July. If you want to include a short period of that study session as part of the discussion, that's when we're going to go over with the SBA kind of board procedures. That was what was decided, and we could piggyback on that if you wanted to.
And I would not be opposed to
Me
that
neither.
either, 30-minute time. for that.
Yeah, that sounds
And
good.
again, I'd like to have Mike's additional thoughts
Very much so,
in
yes.
writing on, both how to communicate this and also how we can how we can implement some of the thoughts that come out of it. Because I think we need that in writing rather than just talking, because when this goes forward, it will all be in writing also. So that to me is going to be as sensitive as the actual questions themselves.
I could do so. The CF meeting anymore?
August.
This year?
No.
Not until August. So,
That'd be perfect then.
And it'll probably be towards the end of August.
well, it seems to me, before we want to vote on it, and before we maybe have our session, that we would want to include the SEAC input. And probably in this plan suggested.
So you're thinking maybe put off the study session until after CIAC?
That's my thought.
Do we want to present them with something though, other than just this? That's where I was kind of thinking, if we can come up with ideas and have an almost concrete idea to present to them.
I think, personally, I think there's enough to generate good, healthy thought on the part of our staff.
I think your introductory paragraph or whatever would be helpful though. Yeah, if that's been developed.
No, it hasn't, and I would think that would, their input might very well help to develop.
Okay.
I mean, I'm now seeing this as a broader project, collaborative project, and pulling it all together. And so, when you ask me, Peter, if I'm really trying to pull us into an idea or a concept, sort of a project where we're all included and feel free to.
Well, again, it's just my way of thinking. It's easier to start with something that's in writing first that we can react to rather than just, like you said, chit-chat.
I tend to agree with that.
Yeah, so that's the only reason I was suggesting that it's your thoughts and ideas, which I think are wonderful, but I'd like you to go forward to that next step and put some of those thoughts, both the introduction, the application, everything we've been talking about down on paper, even sharing with us informally before we get together next. I think that'll help our next generation of discussions on this.
Okay,
What's
so what do we
John,
want to
so
do?
what's the appropriateness of me doing this through email?
It needs to be in an open forum because otherwise the open meeting law would be violated.
So then how do you want to address it?
Do we want to table this? Do we want to make a motion that we're not accepting this and then re-put it on the,
I think just tabling is the neutral way to do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we make a motion to table.
Now, do you want it on the June agenda as an item? Do you want it to be part of the study session where you can just talk and kind of put together a document that it wouldn't be approved in a study session? It's just kind of a time you guys can talk informally in a public setting. Or do I guess I need some direction on how you'd like the next step as a board.
Yeah, so I would suggest you get it on the agenda for June, and I will have more details per your suggestions, Peter, and we don't have to act on it that
Yeah,
day,
we
but
can
we're
take
just
whatever
keeping the
action appropriate
process
at that
moving
time, yeah.
and getting more articulate about it.
So
So
the motion.
table it and revisit it in the June meeting. Would that be the motion?
That's what I'm hearing. I don't know if there is no motion, it just gets tabled and
Okay.
we can add, there doesn't need to be anything else, if we just add it to the next agenda, or next month's agenda.
So just make a motion to table it.
No, not even a motion.
We're just gonna table it.
Just no actions taken,
Yeah.
that'll automatically
Okay.
happen.
Yeah.
No action taken.
Mike, again, thank you for doing this. I think
That's
it's
what,
a valuable tool for our district. Item 8B, we are a request for an addition of a full-time paraprofessional at
So currently, we have our Edgenuity, which is our CBI course where students can do credit recovery. So if a student gets behind, we can go ahead and schedule the time in the library, and they can go ahead and take care of those classes that they need to do. Because sometimes for some students, it's hard to go to summer school. They may be helping their family, or it doesn't work into their schedule. So in the past, we've had maybe a couple teachers taking periods, and with the influx of students, we need our teachers in the classroom. Plus, I'd like to have some smaller classes, as much as we can do. And also Miss Lucy, who I spoke, who's awesome. She's been helping out, and her really number one job is to be our library para. So we really need somebody to be really on track with the kids and keep, because it seems like it always at the end of the semester, we're catching up with them and getting them on track. So I'd rather not worry about that and have somebody responsible and knows the program and can open up the tests when needed and can also monitor them and make sure they're on track.
Now, would this be a permanent position, or are you just looking for catch-up, or?
I think this would be a permanent position, at least for a few.
I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah, because I think that we've seen that, some of our students, not all, think that, a gift is going to be given and the kids really have to finish these courses. Yeah.
this funding is through ESSER 3, and really it fits well within ESSER 3 because it's basically helping kids get caught up that are behind. That's exactly what this money is for. It would last potentially until September of 24. So that's when either we need to make a decision for the position to go away because of lack of funding, or find some way to put it into the regular M&O budget. So that's kind of the timeline, and that evaluation can be made at a later date. But that's kind of the timing that I think you were asking about the permanency of this.
The timing works well, because it gives Heidi a chance to see how well it's working out during that time period. and we can
Absolutely,
Talk about it then.
absolutely.
All right, I would entertain a motion. Teacher, does anyone have any more questions?
I'll make a motion for the approval of adding a 1.0 FTE paraprofessional position to cover CPI instruction at Chino. Second, please.
Second.
Thank you, all in favor?
Thank you very much.
Item 8C, our personnel report.
There is a supplement, so please refer to the supplement as well. We have 8 new certified staff, 3 new classified, 6 resignations, 3 certified changes, 17 certified changes, 2 coaches, and a long list of 168 timesheet approvals.
Sometimes sheets go away for the summer, just curious.
Actually, probably not all timesheets. We have some temporary facilities guys or people, they're actually not all guys, coming on. We have a likelihood of preschool, which we're going to do because of some grant requirements, we're actually going to do a preschool program in June and July. And those staff members will be on timesheets because that's outside their normal assignments. I'm trying to think. We don't have other summer schools except at the high school. We're going to have some timesheets at the high school for, the high school's the only summer school program other than preschool. So it's like both ends of our student spectrum that we're supporting. And here and there, but not, I don't think nearly the same number that we have, but who knows? I could be completely off there, but there'll be some. And this is kind of a new requirement. You know, in the past, we haven't really had to approve the timesheets, and that's something that's been a relatively new requirement.
Okay, does anyone have any questions or comments on?
No, but I will gladly make the approval of the personal report with the supplement.
We got something in there. Second, please.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Uh,
Thank you very much. Item 9A, fiscal year 2021-22 district expenditure budget revisions.
Great, this is actually, I think, good news all around. This is the last month we could do one of these revisions, May 15th is our deadline. And what we have compared to the year prior, the 2021 year, basically driving these changes, and with all increased budget capacities, is 161 student growth net. So that puts about 220 students in our district in net, 160 for some of them are underage, maybe half funded. So that 161 student growth net increased our operating budget from 14.4 million last year to 15.8 this year. Our capital budget from 1.1 million to 1.3. Our classroom site fund based on some sales tax, 1.1 million last year to 1.8 this year. And that's again exclusively used for certified teachers and a lot of their employment. And federal projects holding very strong. Last year, 3.8 million budgeted. This year, 3.7 million budgeted. And we're going into a new year. We're not sure what enrollment would be, but our budgets are extremely dependent on enrollment. So we get forward to a strong post-COVID attendance. That's really all I have.
Questions?
John and I have done what we needed to do, so
Just wanted
everything,
to check.
everything is fine. And I think the report is excellent.
Melissa, any questions?
Mr. Livingston, you want to explain the $500,000 transfer and why we did that?
Sure, you should have a copy. Did everyone get a copy?
In your packet.
Okay, so in your packet, page 7, there's a list that shows it's a vertical landscape spreadsheet. And there's a place you can kind of treat two combined budgets as if they were one. And it looks kind of like this. It's called the 7 of 8 calculation of the general budget limit. And if you turn it vertically, you can kind of read it better. So our funds produce in column far left in number 1, revenue control limit. That's an interesting word. You can look at it as revenue limit, but they think we have to put a control word in there. So that's 15.9 million. And then there's about 12 different variables. You start with that number, and all your variables in your operating limit and your capital limit are listed down those columns next to it, A and B. So we put, in this case, 15.1 million goes to your operations, and 751 in our capital side. And then we've got some additional capital coming in this year, and that's from our actual capital assessment, the district additional assistance at 1,900,000. Go down the operating side, you see we've got forward just about 700,000 last year, 696,000 moving forward. And then we pay off, this is our last year for our Honeywell energy efficiency project, is 94,000 negative there. And then our proposition 1 through 3 is 144,000 add-on. So together that equals operating fund. And if we really wanted to, and it's tempting for some districts, and they might get operating fund heavy, or they might get capital heavy. If they're capital heavy, they probably aren't going to have robust salaries and robust benefits. So they don't really have well-maintained buildings, to say, or maybe even ornate buildings. But that's not typically the case. Typically, the case is districts want to compete very heavily for salaries, so they might go low on the capital side and increase the operating budget for salary benefits. So we're trying to reach a balance there and put some reserves into our long-term capital. Because it's only been the last 2 years that we're paid close to 100% of what we should get on that capital side. We've been getting 25% of it, so that's been a lot of money left over for maintenance. Del Rio, how many classrooms this year? How much area, how big that carpet area is going in? in your school, I'm thinking, I wrote one purchase order for 44,000, I think it did like 6 classrooms, something like that. We just haven't really been able to do that. But we've got some more funding. We've got a mini excavator this year for our maintenance department. We're getting ready to buy 2 more buses, so this money that's starting to flow in our capital account is money that we could have been spending, I guess, 5 years ago.
It just amazes me every time you say 2 new buses, we're getting a new bus. We struggled for so long trying to get buses, that is just great.
And now we're getting buses and
Well, the important question is, the important question is, how old are the 2 buses that are being retired?
I think it was still 19, didn't she say that we have a 1980s bus still left that's on the road? Yeah. She's mentioned that, Chris, mentioned that today. One other thing I wanted to mention, that 500,000, what that allows us to do, if you remember, we have 8 teachers that we're paying out of ESSER. Transferring that $500,000, in 2 years, once we keep that in there, we'll pay for those 8 teachers. So we basically have made up the money to pay for those 8 teachers, so that when the time comes, we're moving them to M&O, which is what basically you tasked us to do when we move those teachers in there. So that money's ready.
Wonderful. All right, I will make the motion for the approval of the final 2022 district expenditure budget.
Second.
Oh, second.
Thank you. All in favor?
All right.
Thank you very much. All right, item 9B is the submission of proposed issues for consideration for the 2023 political agenda. This is the ASBA item that Mr. Vogel is referring to.
And you guys have been part of this multiple times, or at least 3 of you have. It seems like it's a relatively abbreviated version of doing this.
Very much so.
Many choices.
And so my understanding is really what they want to do is want you to look at what's there and just make comments on what's there. If there's additions, we can make a list of additions. If there's subtractions, we can make a list of the subtractions. But there's not a whole lot of input otherwise. The process, like I said, has been much more robust in the past. So,
Do we have to rank these?
No.
These are not
I
rankable?
just want to know if it's okay
Are these-
To use these.
Yeah,
on.
and it's the same sort of ranking that I've seen for year
Yeah,
after year after
Exactly, it's the
year.
same thing we've been asking
Exactly.
for,
Yeah.
adequate funding,
Mhm.
et cetera.
So do you need a motion?
Yeah, looks like we
Well, is there any discussion on this? Does anyone want to change or comment on them?
Because I'm going.
yeah, 'cause the timeline, I think, is,
This week?
it's
So
soon.
we'll get first thing next week.
Right.
maybe?
And they just sent this out to us not that long ago, and you guys got it in your email also from them.
So I will move
Oh, good.
to recommend the state submission of the issues as shown on our agenda for consideration, the 2023 political agenda.
Thank you. A second, please. All in favor? Thank you very much. Item 9C, extend the maximum dollar amount of an individual job order for job order construction services in the use of job order.
Okay. Lieutenant's smiling because he's extremely familiar with this. We spent, I think, 2 hours last week typing on all these. And I don't know what your typing speed is, but my wife does about 88 words a minute. I think you'll get pushing. So the state knows that if we want to procure services, that we have to do it in an approved and legal manner. And typically, when you think of it, there could be up to $10 million involved once all 4 schools are completely done. Typically, you'd go out for bid, and take 2 months, get bids back, review them, and go through those our bid process. Well, there's 3 different state contracts. One's one GPA, one's up to Kingman, Mojave Ed, and then there's a state list as well. But we selected contractors after many discussions with the superintendent and our facilities director, the sheriff, and our facilities board folks. And what we came up with was this. It's a new type that's been around about 12 years, job order construction. And it's not for building new buildings, it's for renovations and what the school facilities board calls rehab or renovation or renewal. And a typical application for job order contracting, that's what we're bringing forward tonight, would be if you had to install new cabinets in 600 classrooms. Same thing, routine, follow a pattern, get it done, but not really construction. So job order contracting is for smaller jobs that are highly repetitive in nature. And what we've done is we've talked with these folks, we've talked with school facilities board. I believe that Pueblo Mechanical, I worked with them for about 12 years in another district. They're considered top notch for the facilities and for mechanical and for HVAC installation. Work with them under this one GPA contract, under the job order contracting provision, and then have 4 contracts, 1 for school for the HVAC installation. And Progressive Roofing is also well thought of for their reputation in the state. They could rehab the roofs and put a maybe an 1/8 of an inch layer of several different adhesives you're looking at. They did a pull test over at Del Rio 2 months ago. We had some contractors from work in the state. You cut a little hole in the roof, very small holes. You patch it with some adhesive, and you come back in about a week and you see how much pressure it takes to pull that off. And if it takes 80 pounds, you've got a really good adhesive. If it takes 2 pounds, you don't have a very good adhesive. So they did the pull test. They're bringing that together, and they'll make recommendations to the architect. So if you approve these tonight, item 9C allows the district to enter into job order contracting with these vendors for these projects to exceed the maximum in statute is $1 million per contract. We have your approval. Or when we award the 4 key contracts and when we award the 4 HVAC installation contracts. The estimate for the HVAC installation at the high school is around 2.6 million for all the units to replace all that you got cooling. The estimates of the other one, for the other 3 schools, are all close to the 950,000 to the 1.2 million. So if we get approval, take it up to that 3 million per roofing award and per HVAC installation award, then we're covered. We don't anticipate them going over that 8 to 10 million total for everything, but they could. And we all know with supply chain items, we ordered a bus last July of 2021, a 14 passenger. It's still not here yet, almost 11 months later. So with delays in purchasing and procurement and in supply chain, prices could almost change. We hope we get firm fixed prices when we SFU orders these things. But if they're going to show up 6 to 8 months down the road, we're going to get price costs too. So we think this is a legitimate. It's effective, it's efficient, it allows, if you approve these motions tonight, it allows the current architect and their HVAC design to work with input from the roofing company and the mechanical HVAC installation company to instantly get these plans ready to go so they can order exactly the right amount and get the installation all done and get the order process for all these units right away. So it should be January, February, and everything just going. If you wait 3 months to do a hard bid, they're probably going to go to these companies anyway, but we just have a bigger bid to review. Certainly to the advantage of the district to use these contracts for the purpose they were set up. At this point, it's no cost to the district at all because we meet that identified deficiency. And I'm going to present a letter tomorrow, superintendent will read it, and it's called the determination to enter into this kind of. So we've made the determination. That's basically in item 9C, and we justify it, and I can read that, the design phase and completion. If we do the job order procurement, it allows the districts to exceed the limit, and it's under a cooperative purchase. So these companies, Pueblo Mechanical, EMCR Architect, and Progressive Roofing, have all submitted bids to the one GPA cooperative purchasing cooperative. So if the regular architect was going to charge X plus 20% per profit margin, and the regular HVAC installer was going to charge X plus 30%, they don't get to do that. They submit bids, the state awards them, and they might charge 8 to 10%. So the cost is low, but they get the pretty secure business. They get school districts and school facilities board do tend to pay the bill. So it's very secure, but they don't get the profit margin on the other private sector projects.
Okay. So any questions for the facilities team before we go on? Just to let you guys know, we're gonna approve what you just talked about. And then instead of having to then explain each and every item, I'm just gonna read who it is where it's working back for,
Okay,
going forward.
and all this. Okay. I'll make a motion to approve rule extending the maximum dollar amount of an individual job order for job order construction services and approving the use of job order contract.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Contract with Progressive Roofing for roof rehabilitation at Territorial.
Approve a contract with Progressive Roofing under award one GPA contract 21-06B-02, expiration date 03/04/2026 for rehabilitation of Territorial Early Childhood Center, not to exceed $3 million, for pending funding approval from Arizona School Facilities Oversight Board.
Second.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Contract with Progressive Roofing for roof rehabilitation at Del Rio School.
Approve a contract with Progressive Roofing under award one GPA contract 21-06P-02. Expiration date 03/04/2026 for roof rehabilitation at Del Rio School, not to exceed $3 million, for pending approval from the Arizona School Facilities Oversight Board.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Contract with Progressive Roofing for roof rehabilitation at Heritage Middle School.
Approve a contract with Progressive Roofing under award one GPA contract 21-06P-02. Expiration date 03/04/2026 for roof rehabilitation at Heritage Middle School, not to exceed $3 million, for pending approval from the Arizona School Facilities Oversight Board.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Contract with Progressive Roofing for roof rehabilitation at Chino High School.
Approve a contract with Progressive Roofing under award one GPA contract 21-06P-02, expiration date 03/04/2026 for roof rehabilitation at Chino Valley High School, not to exceed $3 million, for pending funding approval from the Arizona School Facilities Oversight Board.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Contract with Pueblo Mechanical for HVAC installation at Del Rio School.
Nope,
Nope.
got one.
This time. Contract with Pueblo Mechanical for HVAC installation at Territorial.
Approve a contract with Pueblo Mechanical Services under award one GPA contract 18-16PB-05, expiration date 05/17/2023 for installation of HVAC systems at Territorial Early Childhood Center, not to exceed $3 million, for pending funding approval from the Arizona School Facilities Oversight Board.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Now, contract with Pueblo Mechanical for HVAC installation at Del Rio School.
Approve a contract with Pueblo Mechanical Services under award one GPA contract 18-16PB-05, expiration date 05/17/2023 for installation of HVAC systems at Del Rio School, not to exceed $3 million, for pending funding approval from the Arizona School Facilities Oversight Board.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Contract with Pueblo Mechanical for HVAC installation at Heritage Middle School.
Approve a contract with Pueblo Mechanical Services under award one GPA contract 48-16PB-05, expiration date 05/17/2023 for installation of HVAC systems at Heritage Middle School, not to exceed $3 million, for pending funding approval from the Arizona School Facilities Oversight Board.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Contract with Pueblo Mechanical for HVAC installation at Chino Valley High School.
Approve a contract with Pueblo Mechanical Services under award one GPA contract 18-16PB-05, expiration date 05/17/2023 for installation of HVAC systems at Chino Valley High School, not to exceed $3 million, for pending funding approval from the Arizona School Facilities Oversight Board.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
That way like retention.
Get some AC in there? Absolutely.
This is it's exciting. Actually, you did 2 steps to 3 is what I'm understanding, right, Mr. Livingston? We moved this thing forward. So we did 2 of the steps. And again, I want to thank John for his work on this, because again, he's done more in the 16 months that we've had in the past 12 years, so yeah. I appreciate that.
Item 10A, our family life curriculum. I think Catherine and Health Department, are you here today? Yeah.
Public health.
Cindy Garment and Lauren Thor.
I'm Catherine, I'm the district nurse, and I've been working with Sydney and Lauren in getting curriculum in the schools, and I wanted to go over that it's on the agenda as family life curriculum because the Arizona, our policy calls with that, and under that policy, family life education is sex education, but it's far more comprehensive than that. It focuses on physical well-being and emotional well-being and healthy boundaries, and I am going to let them take over. So my name's Lauren DeFore. I'm one of the health educators for Yucca County Community Health Services, and I am one of those that is tasked to go out all over Yucca County and teach specifically sexual health education. And a lot of people wonder what sexual health education is. So like it was mentioned, that's the knowledge and skills to help the students have healthy relationships, avoid STDs, and reduce unintended pregnancies, and it's medically accurate and developmentally appropriate curriculum. It's evidence-based, and one thing we don't do is go out and teach students how to have sex. I get asked that all the time. Are you teaching my child how to have sex? That's not anything that we do. We're answering what a healthy relationship looks like. We have an abstinence-based program. That's per Arizona standards. And any curriculum that we are tasked to teach in the school is also already been approved by Arizona State. So it's not a curriculum that we have decided to teach on our own. It's not something we've made up. It's already been approved by the state. With the sexual health education programs, we do find, and research shows that the students delay initiation of sexual intercourse. They have fewer sexual partners. They have fewer experiences of unprotected sex. They increase their use of protection, specifically with condoms, and they improve their academic performance. Because like we said, we talk about healthy relationships, we talk about boundaries, and those things translate into regular school settings. We are talking about making a difference, which is an age-appropriate, evidence-based abstinence curriculum already approved by the state of Arizona, and it's used for students aged 12 to 14, so middle school. Most other school districts in Yavapai County teach this at like the 6th or 7th grade level. Most of the school districts use this curriculum for 7th grade, and they follow up with another, basically phase 2 in 9th grade. So they get something in 7th grade, they have a year, and then reintroduce it again using a lot of the same language that they've already heard and build onto that. So it's layering. So I don't know if you're interested in knowing what the modules are for these different things. Okay. So making a difference, the one that we normally teach in middle school, 7th grade level-ish. That's all up to you how you want to introduce it. But module 1 is getting to know you and steps to make your dreams come true. We talk about their goals and dreams and how unintended pregnancies and or an STD could possibly influence that. Module 2, understanding adolescent sexuality and abstinence. And that goes into why we should delay having sex. And also why kids choose to have sex and what that looks like and how, what the choices are that come with that. Module 3, the consequences of sex as HIV infection. Module 4, attitudes, belief, and giving advice about HIV, STDs, and abstinence. Module 5, consequences of sex. That's also STDs. Module 6, consequences of sex, pregnancy. Module 7, responding to peer pressure and partner pressure. And then module 8 is role plays, refusal, and negotiation skills. So they're learning how, we don't just say, don't have sex, just say no. We give them the tools to, if they're in a situation, a high pressure situation, they're at a party, there's not an adult there, what do you do? Because a lot of them don't know. They haven't been, we just tell them, don't do it, you know? And it's better for them to know, hey, this is how I do it, this is what I say. So that's where the role plays come in. We get a lot of, students don't want to do role plays. I have students in every school that want to stay through the classroom and do these role plays. They love it. So I have a lot of parents or teachers that are concerned about that. What about the role plays? They're not going to want to do that. They do. The one that we normally, like I said, do in ninth grade, making proud choices, is the second part to make a difference. Again, just builds on what they've learned previously. Again, provide students with the knowledge, confidence, and skills necessary to reduce the risk of STDs, HIV, and pregnancies by abstaining. The biggest difference between the one taught in 7th grade and the one in 9th grade is that it's a safer sex curriculum. So it promotes abstinence, but it also lets them know if and when you decide to have sex, here's what a condom does or other birth control does and how it works. As in, what are the percentage rates? So module 1, getting to know you and the steps to making your dreams come true, again. Module 2, possible outcomes of unprotected sex, HIV infection. Module 3, attitudes about sex, HIV and condom use. And that one is like, what if your partner says, I don't want to use a condom, why would you not trust me? I haven't been with somebody. Giving them, again, those negotiation skills to say, we need to use this. Strategies for preventing HIV infection, stop thinking to act, is module 4. Module 5, possible outcomes of unprotected sex, STIs. Module 6, possible outcome of unprotected sex, pregnancy. Module 7, developing condom use and negotiation skills. Module 8, enhancing refusal and negotiation skills. Both these curriculums include classroom activities and videos that supplement the modules, as well as student workbooks to keep. It doesn't cost anything to the school district for us to come in. We have health educators that have been trained in these curriculums. And we come in, we teach. It's teachers usually enjoy it because they're not having to do it, and they get a little bit of, they get, a little block of time to catch up on grading or something. These are 8 modules, so that's usually a class period, 50 minutes to an hour. We try to do them consecutively. So they get about 2 weeks some time to themselves to help catch up on things. And other Yavapai County school districts, the most commonly followed sexual health education timeline is 5th grade. They teach puberty and hygiene, which we're able to do as well. That's not considered sexual health education. That does not fall under sexual health education. That's considered health and science. And that's usually like a 1-day thing. We go in there, this is what puberty is, this is what hygiene is. The teachers really like that one. Really like that one. Sometimes they ask us to come back and do a refresher on that one. 7th grade, again, making a difference, 8 modules, and then 9th grade, making proud choices. And additional presentations or refreshers can be added if desired. There's a lot of statutes. There's the executive order that say how we have to do this. Teaching separate genders at certain age. It is also stressing that pupils abstain from sexual intercourse until they're mature adults. Emphasizing abstinence is the only thing that's 100% preventable. Let's see. Including discussion of possible emotional and psychological consequences from pre-adolescent or adolescent pregnancies or sexual intercourse. And also one of the things that was added in this past year was that sexual health education is an opt-in policy. It's always been opt-in for us as a county. If we don't have a permission slip from the parent or guardian, your child doesn't get taught. So there's never been any issue with that, but that's just been something that's added for the state. And also that the curriculum is able to be viewed. So if this gets adopted by the board, we're able to teach, the parents are able to come in and either look at a hard copy or to get online and look at the curriculum online as well.
So for clarification.
Yes.
The 12-year-olds and the ninth graders, they get basically the same? Okay.
Yeah.
I missed that.
Yeah.
somewhere.
So seventh grader, like 12-ish, 12, 13, they get a program that's abstinence only, that doesn't include birth control. That's always something that you could add on if that's something that your school district decides that you want to do, but it's different and that it's abstinence only, there's not birth control or condoms. And then the one for ninth grade, which is the second part, the second piece of the curriculum, is the rest of it. Where they do go into, this is what a condom is, this is the, this is what happens if it fails, and these are other type of birth control that you can use, hormonal or not.
I have a question for you. What curriculum have you used in the past?
In the past, it was North Star, it was the name of the company, the curriculum.
No, we actually taught for 8 years. I
Oh.
taught Smart Girls and Wise Guys
Mhm.
with Ginger Ballard and Coach Strauss. That was exciting to hear the voice. So we taught that, and that was approved. But that curriculum, which we loved, we really liked and appreciated it. They didn't keep up with their evidence base, so they failed, and so the state cannot approve their curriculum. So we were really disappointed about that. So we've been modifying, most of the schools in Youngstown County use making a difference and making right choices. We also have another curriculum because the other one did cover, does cover healthy relationships, but safe dates is another curriculum that we teach, and it really goes into depth about a lot of the stuff that we didn't cover with Smart Goals and Wise Guys. So before that, it was North Star at Heritage School. Yes. Yeah. Okay. So it's so confusing.
That's okay. That's okay. Any questions for
I think it's really great.
So the links
So-
are live that you have in your packet, I checked before you came to the meeting. You can log in, they're on the, they went on the homepage of the district's website last week. And you can click on the link and you have to sign up for a 30-day free trial in order to view the curriculum.
And
So,
that's copyright issue.
so,
That's with any other public.
yeah, so it's up there. People can go ahead. They've been able to since last week, since the board agenda went live, the copies went live. The hard copies here, and the district office as well. And we through them. We have a paper, so when people come in and want to review it, we have on display. They can print their name, sign their name, and then say whether they came to school or not, so we kind of get a feel for who's interested, in what's going on. And we're asking tonight for your approval to put it on display for the 60 days. And then at the end of the 60 days, we can, entertain public comment and those kind of things before you decide whether you'd like to adopt it.
I do have one more comment. I absolutely support these type of programs. I know there's lots of people out there that say that it's the parents' responsibility. And I agree with that too. However, unfortunately, a lot of parents don't want that responsibility.
They don't have the information.
Correct. So I think it's very helpful.
Yeah, I
Yes,
have
go
just
ahead, please.
a quick question. You mentioned that this conforms to state statute. When you mentioned that it was approved by the state or some agency, what agency was it that approved?
There was an executive order that was approved last year by Governor Ducey, just to add in that, not anything specifically about curriculum, but just sexual health education curriculum in general for the state of Arizona is an opt-in policy that the parents, just for transparency, for parents to be able to see what their children are being taught. So that was what the executive order last year said.
It's approved
So
by
that-
the
so
Arizona
that-
Department of Education.
Oh, yeah.
also.
And
Yeah, that's what evidence-based is, that's what it means.
Yeah, ADHS.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so like Cindy said, this is just approval to put it out for public review and comments for 60 days. And then we will come back answer questions if there are any.
So that'll be August, it won't, so that actually be, yeah, August 14th.
And one more thing, again, for our YouTube viewers, if you want to see this at all, make sure you go to our website and you can click the links to see what the curriculum is.
And if you scroll down, it's kind of in the lower
You
left.
Yeah,
Or
lower
you
left.
can come in here and get hard copies.
Yes, you can come here and see a hard copy.
Okay, we've had in the past two other school districts that they have our phone numbers, so if they have specific questions about the curriculum, so that, because I know a lot of times it's hosted in the building, and it's like, oh, I don't know, you know, so we can answer those questions about the curriculum.
So lastly,
Yes,
have we been devoid of this type of program recently?
2 years.
Oh, for 2 years.
So my understanding is next year we're gonna do the 7th and 8th graders, is that correct? Is that the plan?
We have an option of both. Like Lauren said, there is an addendum, if you will, to the making, making a difference, that's right, the middle school one. That can be used for 8th graders. And since we now have 3 grade levels that would have gotten it, but have not received any kind of sexual health education, that is something that I will be working with the principals on, making sure that we are catching as many kids as we can in the 22-23 school year. What it looks like in the following school year, we'll see.
Maybe I'm confused then. I thought you said it's also available for the 9th grade
It
too.
is, generally it's, like I said, generally the other school districts can pick and choose. I mean, we have some that do 7th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th.
Yeah.
But sort of the just general that a lot of other districts follow is 7th grade and 9th grade, but we have been seeing other schools try to catch those other
But are
schools.
we saying we're just going to do the 7th and 8th and we're not going to do the 9th?
No,
Or we're all
my,
3?
what we're hoping to accomplish, once the board has approved a curriculum, is offering this to 7th, 8th graders. That will be the Making a Difference curriculum.
Program, yeah.
And then at the high school level, possibly more than 9th grade. So definitely 9th grade, possibly more grades, because like I said, if you miss 2 years of instruction, the way the programs were set up before, we now have 3 different grade levels that haven't received anything.
I just want to make sure that we're offering both the middle and the high school level of it. And I know they're slightly different programs, but I just want to make sure I was misunderstanding them when we talk about 7th and 8th, that we also do the high school version of it also.
And I've labeled for public viewing on the hard copies, I've labeled one middle school so that everybody knows that's 7th and 8th grade, and then one for high school that it's at least 9th grade, possibly more.
Sure.
There's 2 different programs. One's appropriate for middle school, one is appropriate for high school. We're going to try to catch as many kids as we can.
That's what I want to do.
Any other questions, comments, concerns? I'll make a motion to place family-wide curriculum for public review and comment.
all in favor? Aye, thank you. We are now going to go into executive session, however, I need a motion for executive session.
I'll make a motion to go into executive session.
All in favor?
It's more comfortable in my office.
Yes.
Go in there and receive it.